Good evening everyone, my name is Matthew Allen and I'm going to be giving you the demonstration this evening on EstimatorXpress. So when you first turn on the software, this is the page you're going to be greeted with. So you're going to be able to see your recent work, a job win rate, and then a job status breakdown as well. Okay, if you don't like how this page looks, that's absolutely fine. All you have to do is just click the link on the left hand side which says jobs. You can do that and it's going to give you all of your jobs in more of an Excel spreadsheet type format. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got job name, job number, job breakdown, description, client name, and so on. Okay. From here, we can then go into the library. Now, the library is going to hold on to your overhead profit and inflation, favorite merchants, your price books as well. Now, this is actually going to be how you default your software. And what I mean by that is essentially set up how everything's going to be running in the background so you don't have to worry about changing it every job. All right, so firstly, overhead profit and inflation, quite self-explanatory this one. We're going to break everything down for you within the software by material, labor, plant, subcontractor, and sundry items. Okay, now we have that, and next to that we have inflation as well, because we want to make sure that you're not pricing yourself out of a job if it starts in 3, 6, 9 months time or 3, 6, 9 weeks time. Okay, because as we all know, materials are volatile at this moment in time and we don't want to lose out to a price rise. Back to the library, we then have the price books as well, material, labor, plant, subcontractor, and sundry. And if I go into labor, you're going to be able to see the trades that we already have in the software for you straight away. So you can see here that we've got your gangs and your individual tradesmen. And then you've got their price next to them as well, some in black, some in red, and you can see that these are by the hour. Now, what you can see here is the prices that are in black. When you download prices and update them, the black pricing is the pricing that we can influence on your behalf. The red pricing are the ones that you don't want us to touch. Okay, so you might have a price that you're paying your bricklayer, you know that's never going to change. Whereas if you were to update the prices and the pricing was black, that's something that we could influence because we might see that there's a 10, 15% increase in joiner fees. So we want to make sure that those are going to be updated as well, okay, on your behalf. Now to change any of these prices, all you have to do is just double click and then you can change the price here. Now the reason why we're going by the hour is so that we can calculate how long jobs are going to take. Okay, so all you have to do is just divide your working day by 8 hours, what you're paying your guys by the day, and then stick that in there. So if you know he's £250 a day, doing well for himself, you can just go £31.25. Saying 125, terribly sorry. Let's go 31. My 3 button doesn't seem to be working. £31.25. There we go. Click OK, and then we have £31.25, and the date's been updated over here as well to the 12th of the 1st. So today's date. And everybody else is the 5th. All right. Now, what our software also does for you as well is it rounds up to the nearest day as well. So what's going to happen is if the software calculates that a job's going to take 9 hours, it's going to roll up to 2 days because you're not going to have a tradesman on site for just 1 hour. But then what you could do is you could always take more control of that and go, actually, I'm going to charge him for the day, only because I feel he might be able to just do all of that in one day instead of spreading it over 2. So it's entirely up to you. You have the power to be able to change this. And I can show you how you do that later on. Next to that, we then have plant. Now, plant is going to be access towers, cherry pickers, so you have your rental costs, and you also have your wear and tear as well. Now, your wear and tear is going to cover you for the likes of your dust sheets, your shovels, slab cutters, sledgehammers, things that can break on site. Okay. And then you've also got the likes of your portable toilets, site cabins, steel containers, grab lorries, roll-on, roll-off skips, and then your typical domestic skips as well. Going back to the library, we then have specifications. This is how we can set up the software for you and your business as well. So we've got extension specifications, new build specifications. And with that, you can start setting up how your teams are going to work, all your material as well. And we do this during a one-to-one with you. Okay, so if you were to purchase the software, we would set you up with a trainer and then we would go through this and help you set up this for your business. And that's even changing the default trades that we have in place, or even selecting multiple trades and setting them as subcontractors because you only want to calculate for the material and none of the labor. Okay, so you can do that as well if you wish. All right. The reason I hopped away from material for a second is because essentially what you can do here is you can actually go to your favorite merchants. We can work with your merchants as well. Just need a little bit of help with getting the pricing. And you can start cherry picking where your material is coming from. So you've got aggregates, blocks, bricks, carcassing timber, and so on. And what we can do is we can then start saying, okay, then we're getting our aggregate from Travis, we're getting our bricks from and blocks from wherever you're going to get your bricks and blocks from. Okay, so you can use multiple merchants, and then the software is going to apply those and those options to the actual job that you're working on as well, making your ordering of materials a little bit quicker and faster. All right, because at the very beginning we do have 3,000 to 4,000 materials in the package from the very beginning. Okay, you can find certain materials as well. So if I typed in timber at the top, not the best search in the world, I will be honest, because it's going to give you everything from nails to balustrade. But then what we can also do as well is we can come in here, we can go with ply, and that's going to be a lot more accurate. Okay, so we've got hardwood ply and so on. And that's your library before going into the data reports as well. And this is the information that you're going to be able to see at the very end of the quote. This isn't for your client's eyes, this is for your eyes only. So you can even see a breakdown of your cost summary report as well, just seeing exactly how much money is going to be spent over the course of this job, including what we're spending on material, what the cost is before wastage, what the wastage cost is, what the cost is after wastage, what our markup is, and what all of that is combined together. So it's a good thing that we have that for you to be able to monitor jobs, quarters, depending on what you want to have a look at. Okay. Now, do you have any questions about the library at all? Okay. So back to the dashboard, we then can create a brand new job. Okay, so we've got create new job, quote from a standard job template, quote from a custom job template, quote from PlansXpress import, quote using estimating calculators. Now the top one is what we're going to look at today. These are templates that we have in the software from the very beginning, something for you to be able to click and start popping in dimensions, and the software is going to start calculating the job and start building up as well. Quote from a custom job template, these are going to be more bespoke jobs, maybe a loft conversion, something like that. Quote from PlansXpress import. Next week I'm going to be giving a demonstration on PlansXpress. Okay, that's a drawing package. It's also a takeoff package as well, and what you can do is you can do a live takeoff, as you can see from this image here, of a job, import that into the software, and it will give you a price. Okay, so you can do that as well. And then we've got quote using estimating calculators. This is when you can break down calculators in our workbooks into their individual items and start calculating maybe just skirting board instead of a full brick and block cavity wall or something like that. Okay, so if you wanted to do, say, 400 linear meters of skirting, you can go in here, find that calculator, and get a price. Going from the quote from the standard job template, if I select that item here, we can then see the templates that we have in the software, and these are all based around what needs you have as a business. Okay, so we've got single story extensions, multi-story extensions, wraparound extensions, conservatories, bungalows, apartments, housing, flats, garages as well. If I go for, say, a flat roof single story extension, because I haven't done one in a while, we can then load that up as well and start running with it. So now what you can see here is the length and the width of the extension. We've got the image of the extension as well. Don't worry that it's come out as a brick extension. We can change that in a moment. But we can change the dimensions, and the moment we change the dimensions, we can then actually just update the pricing over here as well. So if I go for, say, 3 meters by 6 meters, you can see that this price jumps up on the right-hand side. Above this, we then have assumptions and omissions, something that you can state on your quote for your client. Ooh. Provisional sums. I don't really have to explain what a provisional sum is, but you can have a long description that will appear on the quote, a short description that appears for you in your notes, build phase, location, and cost. You can pop in the client contact details as well, And then you've got a cost breakdown. The cost breakdown is actually going to break down this price for you on the right-hand side. So if I click cost breakdown, you can see the calculators that we're using at the moment. So we've got the brick and block cavity wall, the floor screed, the extension slab, the connecting wall plastering, and then we've got rectangular flat roofing as well. If I wanted to go into more detail, I can click this and it's going to tell me everything on the right-hand side here. Okay, but if I wanted to go into more detail, I could go cost by build phase, and that brick and block cavity wall is then going to be broken down into foundations, footings, masonry shell, plastering, and so on. So we can then just break down and go into that in a little bit more detail as well. Okay. Beneath this, we then have allow for the plastering. Yes. Allow for the decoration. That's optional based on how you're dealing with your client. Allow for the internal finishing to the external walls. What we're saying here is that this back wall we are going to be plastering, we are going to be decorating. The reason why we have it in there is because this could be a garage and they might not worry about that too much, so it's entirely up to you. Decorate fascias and soffits. We're presuming at the moment that you're going to be using UPVC, but you could be using softwood, and then you can turn that decoration on if you wish. We then have the cavity wall foundation depth for external and internal walls. Ceiling height, that's going to be 2.4 from the top of DPC. And then we've got soffit width of the flat roof. That's 100 mil, just building regulation at the end of the day. But you can change that as well if you wish, if they have a larger overhang. From there, we can then go down and go into something called the resource specification. So what this is going to be doing is just tweaking the pricing up here just a little bit more. So what we can do there is we can say, right, we're going to be using a £1.50 brick. We don't have to worry about the tiling. The guttering, however, is currently plastic half round, but we could be steel, zinc, cast iron, aluminium, depending on what we want to use. Waterproofing of the flat roof, we've got GRP fiberglass. However, what this could be is EPDM, premium felt, single ply, depending on what you want to use. Okay. Floorboards, depending on whether or not you've got any suspended floors, you can then go with chipboard, plywood, redwood, and whitewood. And then we've also got plant and labour for the excavation. We've got an excavation using a mini digger and a driver, but it could be a manual dig, it could be a JCB, depending on the access to the house. But once you've applied that, you can click OK. Software's then going to load that in, tell you that it's gone up by £1,000. And then over on the right hand side, you can click completed. And then you're there to move on to the next part of the job. Okay. Now, as I said, it is a brick and block wall at the moment. However, what you could do is you can swap that drop down and just go external cavity block wall. And then it's going to be a block and block with render. The image changes as well. The price changes in line with what you're going to be building. So that can come back. And then you've got 4 boxes, which appear on everything afterwards as well. Now, the first box, if I click that there, what it does is it takes me to the relevant page on our website, telling me all about this wall and this calculator. Gives me related articles such as timber frame. Takes me onto some training videos as well, depending on what and how you want to use it. Dimensions, we already know the dimension of the actual extension, but this is going to go into more detail about your splash course depth, foundation width, not only just the depth. We can then go and see the different types of concrete we're going to be using as well, and those depths. So if I turn on the show tech tips and show tech labels, what can happen here is every time I click a box, it's going to tell me up here what I'm going to be changing. Now, the reason why we have multiple options for, say, cement concreting is because if we didn't, and we did them all in their own individual calculators, we'd have 200, 300, 400 calculators extra, and it would just confuse people. So just getting into the habit of seeing multiple items for the same use is something that we go through in training with you. But I can zero this out. I can then go for a large mass film, which is going to be 800 mil. And those red boxes are just showing that I've made the change myself, not anything else. Okay. From there, we then have the footing details. So we've got the splash course depth, brickwork depth below splash course, height of the blockwork to the outer leaf below DPC. We've then got plastering and decorating. And that's our wall done now. And now we can go into the material as well. So we've got resources and estimating calculator. That's the same information, just delivered to you differently. Okay, so firstly, resources. This is going to be more visual. So what we can see here is we've got structural concrete. It would have been calculated at £115 per cubic meter. However, There's no price against it because I zeroed it out. Whereas if I go to mass concrete, we can now see that we've got a price of £110 per cubic metre, and the price is coming in at £681.12 because we need to order 6.19 cubic metres. Okay, what you can now do is you can swap this material by just clicking this drop down box, and you can select whichever one you want. Okay, so we have £125 per cubic metre. That might be what we want to go for, so I can select that one there. It's going to change that price to £774. So we have that there. If you couldn't find the price, you can just click new resource. You can add that into your job and it'll be there for you, all right, indefinitely. And you can do that for any part of this build, okay, by highlighting and swapping out the material. What you can also do as well is you can do it for your labor. So you've now got laying bricks above DPC. We've got 2 bricklayers in the main. We've got a cost of £1,123.20, and that is now based off of £39 a square metre. However, if you wanted to change that to say £50 a square metre, what you can do is you can just see that we've got, yes, 2 bricklayers in the main. I can click this option down here where it says edit build phase and usage factor, and then I can start changing the information that we're seeing under the usage factor here as well. So we can do that, click OK. It's now going to be more in the lines of £1,440. I can click OK, and that price is £50 per square metre. And we can do that for any aspect of this build. If you don't like that way, that's absolutely fine. You can then have a look at the information through the estimating calculator. So I can click that item here. And we can now look at the calculated resources, but it's going to be more in an Excel spreadsheet format now. So we can see structural concrete is currently highlighted, and there's no price against it. However, we can go to the mass concrete and it's £774, and £54 of that is going to be wastage. All right. If you wanted to change anything else, all you have to do is just highlight, right click, and change the resource as you see fit. Okay. And once you're happy with that and you have changed all the material, the labor, you can click completed. Had you not done it and defaulted it earlier on within the library, you can click completed. That just makes you aware that, okay, I don't have to come back to it, just in case you are estimating over the course of 2 days. You want to remember where you last finished, and you can just go, right, okay, I'm up to this point here, and now I can move on to the flooring. Well, now that you've seen how those work, you can see how everything else will actually start falling in line as well. So we have your flooring. It's a drop-down box giving you the option of ground bearing and insulated, reinforced, insulated and reinforced. We can then go into dimensions, and you can see that it's going to be building regulation straight away by just seeing that we've got 6 and 1 in the sand blinding in the subbase. It gives you the square meterage of your slab. And then you can also see that we've got 100 mil thick slab as well. We've got your insulation. I can turn on the tech tips and the tech label, so everything is now being labeled. And then we can go and say whether or not we've got 2 layers of insulation, not layers of insulation, sorry, 2 layers of reinforcement or not. We can say no to one, no to the other. And then the software is going to calculate your plant. Okay, beneath that, we've then got your screed, and we're presuming that you're going to have it delivered as a dry screed, really. So you're going to have it on site, delivered off the back of a truck. However, there is an option for you to be able to say, right, okay, we are going to have a screed pump as well. Okay, so we do have those options in there based on what kind of works you're going to be doing. The roofing, we've got plastering and insulating of the roof, but again, we've just got a plastered roof, ceiling only, sorry. And that way, then we could just say, look, we don't need the insulation. It's going to be a cold roof because it could be a garage or something like that. Again, so we're just offering you different options as well. And then you can go to the dimensions. You can see everything that's being calculated as well. Okay. We have a solar panels option for you if you need it. I don't go into this one too much, but you can go into that with your client, popping in their postcode, roof pitch, and so on, seeing how you might be able to help them. Structural openings. This is going to be a 2-step process. First, we've got actually creating the opening. So we've got, say, a 3-meter opening here. We've got the width, the height to the underside of the steel, the lintel end bearing. Are pad stones required, yes or no? Or are there going to be bricks instead? And if there are, how many bricks are you going to use? We've then got the plastering options and decoration as well. We've then got plastering to the existing connecting wall. So this back wall, we are going to be plastering, we are going to be decorating it. We have done a knot through as well. So there are two sides to this wall now that have been damaged. So you're going to be looking at both sides. So if this is a kitchen and we want knocked through to, internal side would be the kitchen, the external side would be the extension. And now you can go on about a dot and dab. You can go for a reskim on the battens with insulation, depending on what you want to go through as well. Okay, so you can do that as well if you wish. You can select external doors, windows, flat roof openings as well. So you can start selecting aluminium bifold doors. You can go for width. You can go for U value, color. You can even say how they're going to be opening. So 3 and 3 right down the middle. It's going to select the lintel for you. It's going to give you the cavity closers. You can say how many of these you want. So I can then say yes, just the one. And then if I go back to that wall as well, what you can now see is under the dimensions, it's calculated that out the wall for you as well. Okay, so it's doing that math so you don't have to worry about it too much. And again, the window is the exact same process. I don't need to show you that multiple times. But the roof, once you've selected your roof lights or your lanterns, depending on what you want to use, so we've got width, length, frame color. You'd probably go grey if everything's grey anyway. You can select that there. It's going to ask you how many of these you want. So I'm just going to go with not 32, Christ, 3. And what we can now see here is length of trimmer parallel to the joists. It's then going into supporting the weight of these joist hangers as well and these roof lanterns. All right. So you can do that as well if you wish. You can go into internal walls. So cavity walls, single skin walls, lightweight walls, and we have timber frame and metal stud partition, sleeper walls, internal doors, depending on what you want to be adding in to this particular job. Okay. Beneath that, we then have a rooms function, so we can then start doing renovations around the house. Now, there are options for you to be able to do this without a rooms function. So you have your plastering, your decorating, walling sundries, renovation and demolition. However, the rooms function allows you to then start setting up locations in your final quote. So I can even start typing in kitchen here. And what we can do is we can give a length of the room, a width of the room. So I'm just going to round that off to 20 a second. So we've got 20 square meters here. We can then link in any of the estimated openings we've already calculated for. So I can click that there and go for a medium opening. We've then got add existing openings. And the reason it's asking for this is because essentially when we start going through renovations, it's then going to start going through how we're going to be going around the doors, the windows, and all sorts as well. And you'll see this in a moment. So I'll have an internal door. I'll go for a window as well. So let's go 1.2 by 1.8. And let's go for a window. So we've got all that there. Then under the estimating calculators, I can start looking for renovation, or I can just type in, say, ren. It's going to save me a little bit of time. So it goes for all the renovation calculators. I can go for an internal renovation, internal stripping out. And under these, I can delete that one there. We can then say, okay, then are we going to hack all the walls, replaster, skirts, and decorate, or are we just going to do a reskim? I can say we're just going to do a reskim for the time being. So we've got the height of the walls, the overall length of the walls. We've got decoration in there as well. We've already said yes, that we are going to be decorating everything. Are we going to be removing architrave from the internal doors? Yes, we are. Are we going to be replacing with existing, or refitting existing, sorry, or replacing with new? Same with the threshold strips, same with the skirting board as well. And then it's also going to go through that with the windows, the window boards. And then we've got the ceiling as well. And then on internal stripping out, we can then start going through windows and doors that are going to be ripped out, flooring that's going to be removed, fireplaces, chimney breasts that are going to be removed, gas and water that are going to be turned off if you need extra generators. And then we've also got rads, bathroom suites, kitchen units, number of hours to do the actual strip out as well. So we can say that we're going to be removing, say, 11 units, 3 appliances. That would cost us £100 with the local council, but let's hope the scrap guys come and pick it up. And then we've also got number of hours for removal of the general household contents. So you're going to be working in, per guy is 8 hours for a day. So if you go 3 guys one day, that's 24 hours worth of work. So we've now got that. We've got a brand new reskimmed shell. We can then start going into the likes of Fitting out, so we've got bathrooms and cloaks. Boxing in, depending on if you have to go around any extractor fans or anything like that, or existing pipework. You've also got ceramic floor tiling, wall tiling, carpeting, underfloor heating systems, kitchens, tiling as well, so natural stone floor tiling. So it pulls in the length. Oh, didn't need that. 1 second. So we've got the length and the width of the natural stone floor tiling. We can even get a cost per square meter as well. If we're not going to be buying this, what we can do is we can actually just zero that out and just do it as an installation cost only, or it's going to be there. So we can add that in. We can calculate all the electrics for our client as well. So we can start adding in groups of electrics, or electrical sockets, electrical hobs, TV points. We can add in testing and commissioning, immersion wiring, consumer units, spares. We can go with plumbing. The software will calculate the size of the room for us and add in the relevant sized rad that we would need, so a 20 square meter room. And then we've got that K to 400 by 1600 rad, so that would help us pass our SAPS tests if we need to. Okay. But once you're happy with that, you can click close. You can move on to the next room, or you can just move on through your quote as well. All right. But again, if you didn't like that, that's absolutely fine. You can go through the plastering, the decoration. You can do it all individually if you wished, but that room's function is there to make your life a whole lot easier, if I'm totally honest. Going back to the knock through and that structural opening, you've got the knock through part of it, but then you have the still work part of it. So we can then start going into this, selecting the beams or the posts that we need. We can then, as long as you can read the structural engineer's notes, you can go with universal beam, so a UB. You can then pop in your height, your width, and then you've got your weight bearing as well, and then the cost per meter next to that. And from there, you can see that it's pulled in the length for us. We've got plastering, and then we've got installation as well. Do we need a crane? Yes or no? Do we need craftsmen? Do we need laborers? Do we need additional plant as well? Because it's already calculating for strong boys and acros when you need it. You can start looking at walling sundry, so you then have your aesthetic. So we can start looking at architectural stone seals, chimney stacks, cladding, depending on what we're going to be working with. Renovation and demolition. We've then got demolition of walls, floor tiles, replacement floors, external renovation, chasing walls, temporary house and dry protection. Again, things that you would find in the rooms function if you didn't want to do it down here. Plumbing and electrics. There is a cheat in this software as well. What you could do is you could always go into the rooms function and put in the dimensions of the extension and start calculating everything out for the electrics in there as well. Okay, so it's up to you how you might want to do it, or you can do it individually down here. Plumbing, electrics, and fitting out of that extension. Okay. Drainage and services, you can do all the individual drainage. Okay, from drain runs, deep manholes, soakaways. Or what you can do is you can go into the group of items. You can start adding in groups of items. You can read through our descriptions. You can go extension with 2 rainwater connections to an existing soakaway. I can select that there. And then I can start going through the excavator, the mini digger, shovel, wheelbarrows, how many bends I need as well. So you can just start typing in whatever you need, really based on what that's going to look like. And you can do this as and how. From there, you have your external works. So you can then start going into block paving, edgings, site strips, tarmac drives. Landscaping options, so we have decking, panel fencing, turfing, garden walls. Prelims and sundries. We then start looking at cleaning costs, COVID-19 control costs, scaffolding costs, site establishment. And with these here, we can then start saying it's a small extension cleaning cost. So we're going to stick on 150 quid to clean this extension for our client. And then we've also got site establishment. We're not going to be using their toilet. So we're going to go site establishment for a small extension, not using customer toilet. And then we can just zero out the cabin because we don't need a cabin. It's not that big of a job, but we do need a toilet for 12 weeks. And then we can go through security fencing. You can go through clearing the site compound. We can then go skip permits as well if you can't get the skips on site. We also have insurance costs, site security costs, health and safety costs, traffic regulation costs as well if you do need them. And then you can start ending it with your subcontract quotations as well. So we've got kitchen fitting contractor, so I can go fit kitchen, cost of £2,500, build phase, internal fitting out. I can also add in my scaffolding at this point as well if I didn't want to estimate it myself. £1,200 build phase. Let's go erect scaffolding. So we've got those items in there. A few extra things. We do have blank templates for you to be able to work out square meterages, perimeters, and volumes. We'll also have additional templates at the bottom because this extension might only be one aspect of the build. You could go in there and you can go, right, okay, we're going to be doing an additional bungalow maybe, if you're going to be doing a row of houses or attached garages, a loft conversion, something like that, so you can build it up. But once you're happy there, you can then click the main estimate, and it's going to break down that information on the right-hand side here, down here for you. If you want to go to the cost breakdown, you can just click this item at the top, and it's going to break everything down for you in that page that you found at the very beginning as well. You have Recalculate Job. The reason why we have that in there is because you could have this job, hand it over to a client, and then 4 months' time they can come back and go, yeah, I'd love to go ahead with that. But you'd want to go, right, okay, then I want to make sure that we've got the most up-to-date prices, and then you can click Recalc Job. The luxury is it gives you a side-by-side comparison of what the job used to be and what the job now is. And the reason why we've done that is because of days of old, prices used to go down. So you might go, well, the price has gone down a couple of £1,000. I'm going to give them the original price. Yeah, that's not a problem at all. Okay, but if it's gone up, you definitely want to give them the new price because you don't want to price yourself out of any work, obviously. Okay, we've then got resource quantity rounding, and we're then going to start applying the rounding to our material and to our labor and to our plant. And the reason why we want to do that is so that the software doesn't calculate, say, 1.2 rolls of tarpaulin, because you can't order 0.2 of a roll of tarpaulin. Okay, obviously. So what we want to do is we're going to just take the information that you've been given, and we can now apply that to the cost of the job. So we can do rules applied in job, and then we can now see how this is going to be rounded up. So firstly, building sand bulk bag, we would need exactly 2.2 ton of sand. With the wastage, that goes to 2.75. So we're going to round that up to 3 bags, which makes sense. Okay. We can then go down to pea gravel, which has an obscene amount of wastage because it falls everywhere. So you can see that we would need exactly 5.63 bags of pea gravel. Rounding that up to 7.04. Problem is, as it's rolled on over that 7, it's going to round it up an entire bag to 8 bags. So you've now got essentially 8 ton or 8 cubic meters of pea gravel. Now that is overkill at the best of days. Okay, so what we can do here is we can go, right, okay, then I'm going to change that down to 7, even 6 if you wanted to, but you can just say 7, and that's going to take £1.60 off the price of your job. Now you don't need to worry about that because the rest of the rounding is taking this price up by an extra £2,500, and that's before your profit on top of that as well. So what we can do is we can then go back into the main settings, click add resource rounding into the job. I can do that. Asks you about paint. Do you want to add on extra paint pots because you could already have them all already? And then we can click add resource rounding in there. And the price has now gone up to £66,575.24. That is still excluding VAT. Okay. From there, we can then scroll down. We can look at the build program to see how long this job is going to take us. We can go through the trades that we have doing the individual jobs as well. If you're happy with those, you can then go into how many days we've allowed for certain build phases. So we've got commencement, site setup, 1 day each. If I click next, that's going to come up here as 1 day each. But you might go, actually, you know what, site setup, I want it to be at least 3 days. I want to give ourselves some time. So you can do that, and now the site setup's at 3 days. Okay, and commencement's at 1. You can see that we've got a start date at the top. That's going to be 6 weeks from today. It's 6 weeks from whatever day you're estimating from. Okay, you don't want to presume you're going to be starting the job tomorrow, but you can click finish, and then you have that breakdown here. All right. Now, what you can also do is you can see some of them are actually rolling over weekends. We're not presuming you're going to be working weekends. So if I actually start moving the same masonry shell, it looks quite long here. If I move that to start on a Monday, it goes quite short because it's 4 days worth of work. if I wanted to move the plastering over a couple of weeks, the rest of the job is going to go over a couple of weeks as well, because we can't do anything further without the plastering. So the job's always going to be in line with how you want it to go with your particular job. Okay. What you can also see on the right hand side is a resource breakdown. And if I pull that over, I can go to the resource breakdown. It's going to tell me all about the material that I need to use, how much I need to use, and who's doing what job during this build phase. Okay, and I can scroll all the way through this. You can print this off. You can hand it over to a site manager if you wanted to. The luxury is as well, you can also go, right, okay, then we have May here. Let's go back a week. Let's go to the beginning of May. I want to print May off for my builders so they know what they're going to be doing in the month of May. So you can go print range date, and it just asks you what dates you want to print off with the information you need. Okay, so you can do that as well. Lastly, you've then got the outputs. You've got that cost summary report that we were talking about earlier on. Okay, so we can see the breakdown of labor, material, how much we're going to be spending on material on this job. So that's going to be just shy of £1,400. We're going to be, including wastage, we're going to be spending £26,040 on material. However, we're going to be making £7,812 on top of that. So overall, the client's going to be paying just shy of £34,000 for material for this job. But remember, just shy of 8 of that is for you. Okay, so you've got that there. You can start looking at how you can order materials with the software. So you can do it by type, by build phase, by order date, depends on how you want to look at it. I'm just going to show you by type at the moment. So you can now see that we have all the aggregates that we need to order, well, the different types anyway, how much they cost us currently, how we buy them in. So it's going to be per bag, that is, how much we need to order. And as you can see here, we've got that pea gravel. Got 7 bags because I did change it to 7 from 8, and it's not just a gimmick to say we are changing it throughout the software. It is pulling it all the way through, and that's how much you're going to be spending at £40 a bag times 7. That's £280. All right, so you can see that it's real maths as well. All right, but if you don't want to show any of this information, maybe you want to hand this over to a new merchant to see if they can give you any discounts. What you can do is you can take out how much you're currently paying by just dragging and dropping. You can even take out how much you're currently paying for it individually. So you can even go, right, okay, I don't want to show you that either. I just want to say, I need 7 bags of pea gravel. What's your best price? And then when they give you that price back, you can come in here. You can even click Restore Reports if you hadn't done already. And it brings back the original report. You can export this into Excel. You can put them side by side and just see what costs you're getting if you're saving any money. Okay, and obviously that would be done after your client said, brilliant, yeah, we're happy to go ahead with the job, because you want to save money on top of saving money. And lastly, you then have the quote for the client at the very end. So you've got your quote for the client, single story extension for client not provided because we haven't popped in their details. You can pop in a company logo, place that wherever you want on the page, and once you've done that, you can just click Save to Library, and that's it done. Then you don't have to worry about that anymore. Under the main settings tab, you can click this here. You can even show the quote type by build phase, estimating calculator, or location, depending on what you want to look at. You can include inflation here. You can also change the percentage if you're not that registered, so you can do that as well. From here, we can scroll down. This page now changes on the right-hand side to what you're looking at. So it's now going to be the introductory statement and the introductory letter. So you can include your own letterheads. You can change all this information to be as you wish, and then click Save to Library, and then you have your detailed library. Okay. Summary of the breakdown of the job, everything from site setup through to cleaning, and the cost of being £79,890. So we're just shy of £80,000 here for the job. What I could do here is, if I was going to send this via PDF, we would tell you to click this Show Summary After Breakdown button, because that way then that sends this to the back of, oh, I clicked Save to Library, oops. Show Summary After Breakdown, and there it is after the quote. And then you actually have the breakdown of the quote. So we're now saying that we've got site setup, a brief description of what happens during the site setup, an image, and a phase cost. And if you don't like any of this, you can change the information that's been written. You can just write tea and biscuits if you wish. Apply that change. Site setup is now all about tea and biscuits. You can take out the image if you don't want the image. Take out the phase total. can even hide all the resources that we have in there as well. We can apply that change. Before you know it, your quote's going to look something like this. It's going to go the chronological order of how the build would go, all the way down to the agreement of the quote, something for you and them to sign, and another option for you and them to sign as well. So you at least have both of you have each other's signatures. And then you have your terms and conditions at the very end as well, not before proceeding to the summary if you were sending this via PDF. And that is EstimatorXpress in under an hour, as guaranteed. What you can do is you can then start looking at the pricing of the software. Okay, so what we can do is we can just pull this over here, and you can now find our pricing on our website. Now we have perpetual licenses, and we also have annual subscriptions. Okay, annual subscriptions every 12 months, you'll pay the same fee. Okay, that includes all your support, all your updates as well, training, and those costs can be found here under the core, plus the premium and the enterprise. Okay, these are the prices. All right, then we have perpetual licenses. As you can see, they're a little bit more expensive. Okay, difference is that you have the software and it's yours for life. Okay, the luxury with that as well is that you can come and go whenever you please. You don't have to constantly give us money. All right, it's a more, well, it really depends on how you want to look at it going forward down the line. It's more expensive going as an upfront fee. However, the ongoing costs are much cheaper in the long run, as you can obviously see. Okay, now the differences in the versions, you've got the core, which is extensions and renovations, the plus, which is extensions, renovations, loft conversions, plumbing and heating, premium, all of that plus new build housing, and then you've got the enterprise, and that's also got a couple of extra calculators in there as well for businesses that might run extra estimators and so on. Okay, well, if there aren't any more questions, and I don't really want to keep you on your Wednesday evening, okay, so I can only thank you ever so much for attending this webinar today. You may feel it was a little bit rushed, but it's just keeping up the pace, keeping you engaged as well to seeing what you're going through. If you were to go ahead and purchase the software, we would actually dedicate one-to-one time with you to actually train you in this package. So everything you've seen today, you don't have to really remember it if you went on to purchase the software. Okay, but for those of you that have asked to be called back tomorrow, I'm more than happy to get in contact with you as well. Okay, and I do look forward to it. But thank you again. Thank you so much for actually attending this demonstration, and best of luck with all of your endeavors when it comes to your estimating. Really, thank you so much. Bye now.